you a lot about the living things in an environment. Let's summarize what you've learned about food webs. Many food chains in an environment can overlap with each other. A food web shows how food chains are linked together. Look at this food web diagram. It shows several overlapping food chains. You can see that the mouse belongs to two separate food chains. In one food chain, the plant is eaten by the mouse. Then the mouse is eaten by the coyote. Can you find the second food chain the mouse could be part of? The mouse can be part of the snake's food chain as well. A food web can tell you a lot about the living things in an environment. For example, the diagram tells you that the mouse eats grass. It also shows that two different carnivores compete for mice. They are the coyote and rattlesnake. Competition is the struggle of several organisms for the same resource. There is more competition for the mouse than any other animal in this food web. Living things in a food web depend on one another. Suppose the population of one organism in a food web changes. A population is all the members of a single type of organism in an environment. When one population changes, all the other populations in the food web can be affected also. This is what happened in the ocean's kelp forests. Kelp forests are home to thousands of ocean creatures. Some kelp forests were greatly changed by just one animal, the sea otter. What happened to the kelp forest? In the 1800s, too many sea otters were hunted for their fur. Without sea otters, fewer sea urchins were eaten. Soon, too many sea urchins were being born. Smaller fish could not survive because sea urchins ate their supplies of kelp. These fish were food for sea stars and crabs. The sea stars and crabs began to die out. Mussels also depend on kelp to stay alive. Fewer mussels meant fewer crabs and large fish that depend on mussels for food. After a while, even decomposers could not survive. After people stopped hunting otters, the food web became balanced again. What can happen to a food web when a new organism moves into an environment? In 1935, Australia's sugarcane fields were being destroyed by two kinds of cane beetles. Local scientists decided to bring in cane toads as predators to eat these beetles. Scientists thought the cane toads would eat both types of beetles. They also thought lizards and birds would eat the toads. They hoped this would keep the toad population from growing too fast. The cane toads did not do what scientists hoped they would. The toads did not eat the beetles at all. Instead, they ate just about everything else in sight. They ate frogs, rodents, birds, lizards, even pets. Birds and lizards did not eat the toads as expected. The toads were poisonous to these animals. Instead, the toads ate the birds and lizards. Without any predators, the cane toad population grew and grew. The whole food web was changed by just one new organism. The cane toads have been in Australia's environment for 70 years. They are still causing problems for local farmers. An energy pyramid is a model that shows how much energy flows through a food web. Producers are at the bottom level of the pyramid. Plants get energy from the sun. They use about 90% of this energy to live and grow. They store the other 10% in parts such as stems and leaves. The next levels of the pyramid are consumers. Primary consumers, or herbivores, must eat many plants to stay alive. Why? Only the 10% of energy that the plant stored passes to the animal. Omnivores and carnivores both make up the next levels of the pyramid. These consumers get energy from the organisms in the level below them. Only 10% of the energy from one level is passed on to the next. Animals at the top of the pyramid must eat a lot of food to get the energy they need to survive. Food webs have more producers than consumers. A food web is a group of linked food chains. Each member of a food web can belong to more than one food chain. Even small changes to a food web can affect the food web greatly. An energy pyramid shows how much energy is passed to living things in a food web. What happens when more than one organism in a food web needs the same resource? The organisms compete with each other for that resource so they can survive in their environment. Is the following statement true or false? A population is all the members of a single type of living thing on Earth.